Hello, my name is Mr. Solitaria. I am a fourth grade teacher at Grout Elementary School in Portland, Oregon, and today I'll be reading to you a book written by Ashima Shiraishi, illustrated by Yao Zhao. This book is titled How to Solve a Problem: The Rise and Falls of a Rock Climbing Champion. The rock climbing champion is the author, Ashima Shiraishi. She is, to me, because I also am a rock climber, she is a big inspiration to me, not only for her technical climbing abilities, but for her mindset and who she is as a person, what she cares about and values in this world, and what she does for her community. Um, at the mere age of 14, she became the best female climber in the world and is now 20 years old and is still one of the best climbers in the world, regardless of gender. She is really inspirational to me. I look up to her. Um, Here are some of her body positions that rock climbers put themselves in, and of course, falling. This book is titled How to Solve a Problem: The Rise and Falls of a Rock Climbing Champion because of her mindset and what actually happens when you're rock climbing. There's a lot of rising, but there's mostly falling and learning from those falls. But we'll learn about that from her in a moment. Beautiful art. As I am reading the story to you, you can pay attention to the words, but I would rather you pay attention to the beautiful illustrations by Yao Zhao because they really bring to life the words, the story, as well as the lesson that you can learn from this book. It just makes more sense to be lost in the beautiful illustrations when you are listening to this book. If you want to read this dedication page or hear it, I'll record it at the end. Just wait till the end. I'll come back to it. It's really special. I am Ashima. What I do is climb. What I do is solve problems, which is to say, I make them mine. This beautiful illustrations looks like some of the boulders in Central Park. Like you can see the cityscape in the background. Where she first started bouldering, where she first started rock climbing, learning how to do that. Same illustrations here. We climbers call our boulders problems. We also call our problems problems. And to solve them both is sort of the same. Once I had a problem, and it stretched into the sky. It was tremendously endless. It was bigger than thinking. It was as huge as the air or the night or the planet. It was a problem bigger than any I had ever seen, and I have seen plenty. There were twists and turns. There were places that looked as slick as glass. One part was arched like a question mark. Another part stuck out like my father's elbow. In a photo I've seen of him dancing, and another was shaped like the bolts of fabric stacked in my mother's sewing room. Can you find the parts in the illustrations that Ashima is talking about? Can you find the question mark, her father's elbow like him dancing, and the bolts of fabric in her sewing room? I sighed and clapped my hands full of chalk, which is what I do before I solve a problem. I held this problem in my head. I mapped out every step, each place I would put my hand, and then I began to climb. Dug my toe into the dot of the question mark, jammed my fingers into the bend of my father's dancing elbow, kicked my leg over my mother's fabrics. And then, for a moment, the world slipped out from under me. I was climbing on nothing but air. Whoa, what could be happening to her? The ground beneath me rushed up and pressed into my back. like the hand of a giant named Gravity. Oh no, she fell from her climb. What is she gonna do now? So I dusted myself off. Dad asked how I was feeling. He passed me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And for a while, we just sat there. Then, when I was ready, I looked at the problem again with the new information the fall had given me. Ooh, falling, failing as a learning opportunity. Each fall is a message, a hint, an idea, a new way to move from over there to over there. And so I started, and so I fell, and so I climbed again, listening to what the fall had told me. Notice how these gears can, like the problem and the parts of it, can fit together to hopefully, just maybe, work out and work together. The problem that was endless, which I broke into little pieces, the problem that gave me hints with each fall, and surely and quickly, I climbed the wall. I dug my fingers there and here and stretched my arms like ropes. I threw my body through the air and caught myself in all the ways I'd imagined. A bright path of thinking. Oh, I noticed that one of her strategies for success is visualization, imagining what she will do in her head and then trying that out with her real body. And there, at the top of the problem, I looked down at the bolts of fabric, the dot of the question mark, the bend of the elbow. And I waved hello at the memory of how hard the problem was. And looked for one problem more. Whoa, she just solved one and now she's looking for another one. So this is a timeline of her rise to international fame and prestige as a world-renowned rock climber. I'm going to read this, but first I'm going to read that dedication in the beginning because it was very special. This is probably from one of her publishers, this letter here. But first, this is what Ashima writes. This is who she dedicated this book to. To my Aunt Kay, thanks for teaching me to believe. Ashima Shiraishi. For my grandmothers who showed me that creativity and perseverance can make all the difference. Yao Zhao. This over here reads, Dear reader, the first time I met Ashima Shiraishi, we talked about hip-hop, books, and dessert. She is a teenager and curious about all the things that teenagers are curious about. For a moment, one could almost forget that she is one of the best in the world at what she does. At the end of our meeting, I asked what she's doing next. She says she will go to practice, which means she will face a wall for 4 hours. She will climb it again and again. She will work on holds and techniques. She will make mistakes and make them again until she learns how to do it better. Being the best in the world is not something we are born into. Ashima's parents aren't climbers. They are artists, New Yorkers. Her mom loves to sew and still makes the pants Ashima climbs in. Her father was a dancer, the kind of guy who takes his young daughter to Central Park and lets her climb the rocks because it's fun, not knowing there is a champion inside of her. Being the best in the world is made of countless hours in the gym. It's made of mistakes and falls. It's the discipline and care and time it takes to go back to that wall and try again. The ability to try again after falling. That is what it takes to be great. That might be Ashima's greatest superpower. I imagine every child might like to be the best in the world at something. And I know of no better guide than this teenager who likes hip hop, books, and dessert. Who, after school, will go to a wall in Queens or Brooklyn and keep working on that wall, that problem, as a climber would say, until she has solved it. Christopher Myers. And now to her timeline. Let's learn about her story some more. In April 3rd of 2001, Ashima Shiraishi is born to Tsuya and Hisatoshi Shiraishi. Data is not available for when Ashima figures out how to climb out of her crib. At age 6, Ashima begins climbing at Rat Rock in Central Park, New York City. That's just the name of the location. Sometimes rock climbing areas have funny names. Rock climbers are funny that way. Age 7, Ashima enters her first climbing competition. Age 8, Ashima solves the problem Power of Silence in Hueco Tanks, Texas. This boulder is rated V10 for difficulty, a grade only expert climbers can achieve. I'm not even close to that. V10, that's really hard. Challenging, I would say. Age 9, Ashima climbs her first V11 and V12 problems, including Rogered in the shower and Chablanc in Hueco Tanks. Age 10, Ashima becomes the youngest person ever to climb a V13 problem, Crown of Aragorn, in Hueco Tanks. Only elite climbers and professionals can climb at this grade. At age 13, Ashima climbs Golden Shadow in Rocklands, South Africa, which is pictured in the book. Her first V14. This is at age 14. Ashima becomes the first woman in the world to climb a V15 boulder problem called Horizon in Mount Hiei, Japan. She is the second person ever to solve that problem. At age 15, Ashima sweeps the IFSC. That means wins all categories. Youth World Championships for her third year running. Whoa, she sweeped all categories 3 years in a row. And also places first in the SCS Nationals. What comes next? Sky is the limit. Ashima writes, Ashima Shiraishi started climbing at the age of 6, and today she is one of the best climbers in the world. She is the first female climber ever to ascend a V15 boulder problem, earning praise from Outside Magazine as a young crusher, at the New York Times as a bouldering phenom. This is her first picture book. You can find more information about her at this website, ashimashiraishi.com, and on Instagram at this handle, at Ashima Shiraishi. The rating right now, the hardest boulder problem in the world, is V17, so she's 2 grades away from the hardest grade in the world. And Young Crusher, that is a compliment. Crusher in general is a compliment climbers give to each other. And about Yao Zhao, the illustrator. Yao Zhao is a China-born illustrator based in New York City. Her work has appeared in publications ranging from Time Magazine to Entertainment Weekly to National Geographic. She is also the author-illustrator of a serialized comic, Baopu. Serialized means there's a series, there's multiple in the series. This is her first picture book. You can find more information about her at yaozhaoart.com or on Instagram at the handle at yaozhaoart. I am Ashima. What I do is climb. What I do is solve problems, which is to say, I make them mine. All right, go out there into the world and make those problems your own.